Good afternoon, everyone. Before we jump into the core of this presentation, I would like to share a concern I have being on your side of a presentation. There is very often a guy who is jumping on a stage and providing you his godlike visions about different things. The problem is that a lot of things you can hear all over the place, either best wishes or something somebody read in a book or plainly just made up because there is no number for this. I'd like to put this presentation in context because the context matters here. This is a presentation which is going to address some concerns of some people. It's not going to address all the concerns of the world of security. It's not going to solve all of your problems. It's going to solve problems in a company I'm going to show in a moment. So my name is Wojtek Swiatek. As you can get from the name, I have Polish roots, but I'm actually French. And I'm in charge of information security for a company called Dassault Systèmes, which you've never heard about. I guess that this is a company which is completely unknown to you. It's normal. We know it. We have HR and marketing people who are here to change that. Just to give you a highlight of the context I'm going to be discussing about, you are 16,000 people, 3 billion euros revenue, present in 140 countries. The car you came in has probably been designed, tested by our software. The plane you flew in, same. It's very likely that the plane is actually designed from scratch through our solutions. The medicaments, the drugs you take, are probably designed and simulated with our software. I'm saying this not only to say that it's a great company and you are very much welcome to go to our booth. Now I did it for the HR, but also to show that what I'm going to be talking about are problems of a company where security really matters. Car companies are giving us the crown jewels in terms of the next car. We know what the next plane from Boeing or Airbus is going to look like because we design it. I can assure you that security is not something we can put aside. That's one thing. This is the side of the company. Then, from my personal perspective, my head and other pieces of my body are on the table when it comes for information security for the group. So what I'm going to tell you is very pragmatic, very down to earth. It's not from a book, it's from real life. This is just to set the context. The problem with security is that things have been already invented. You are big fans of Stack Overflow, I am too, and you know how it works. People have some questions. They think I'm the only one in the world to have this question, but no, this question has already been asked, and it has already been answered. So when you manage to properly word your concern, usually there is an answer for it. And this is the case in information security. A lot of the things of the past have already been done. The problem with information security, as opposed to Stack Overflow, is that there is no Marcus duplicate. People keep inventing and reinventing and reinventing solutions to security problems. This is not that bad. That part is fine, actually. It's just a matter of the money you want to spend on this. If you want to reinvent things which already exist, you just need to pay for that. It's not a bad thing. You can have ideas. And usually you have ideas which are brilliant. And these ideas usually come, at least in my case, under the shower. And this is the moment, the more I spend time in this shower, and the more this idea seems to be brilliant. These ideas, unfortunately, get sometimes implemented. So it's important to make the distinction between a good idea under the shower and a bad idea under the shower. I'm going to show you an example for that. Not all the ideas are bad. Some showers are welcome. This guy here from Google, under his shower, found a 0-day in an application. So you can take showers. Just put them through some sanity tests. I'm going to be talking in a moment. So a very limited amount of people get it right. these ideas. They do exist, but it's usually my idea has never been the one from here. I don't know who are the rich and famous who present at Code Europe, but it's not me. I was rather in the 99-something% who, at the end, end up trying to explain to management how it is possible that this idea, which looked so bright at 38 degrees under the water, doesn't look that bright when you are faced in front of auditors or a big leak of your data. This is why the reinvention of the wheel is a good thing. It's a good thing because it helps you to think, to review some stuff. So if you want to reinvent the wheel in security and end up with this, which is a proper wheel, fine. Usually the problem is that you start to invent the wheel and you go through all the suffering of testing why it is not the right wheel. So this is what I would like to help you to avoid, is maybe to go here, but certainly not to go through this poor guy in QA over there who is testing things in security. The problem we have in information security is that it comes last. There are things who come first. When you have a brand new project, people are excited about performance, or maybe, well, they have to deal with performance. They are excited with the front end. They are excited whether they are going to use Pascal or Go or whatever, or Elm. Or there are plenty of discussions about what we are going to use. And unfortunately, at the end, the security comes very, very, very late in the game. So this is a fact of life, we know it, and we are going to try to move this a little bit ahead. Why it happened like this? Because security was never something important. In the 70s, I'm trying to look at the average age here. With your parents, the first thing in information security was in the 70s. Then, for 20 years, people starting to be scared how to organize this security thing. And finally, in 1995, in Great Britain, there was a standard which was born. And this standard which was born, people were so happy with it, it changed name in the meantime, was so happy with it that now, over 20 years later, we still have this standard. Do you realize that it's a standard which was built 22 years ago, yes, 22 years ago. By now, we have faster computers, internet, 95, 95, no internet. Mobile devices. Your mobile devices was the ability for your phone to have a long enough cable to go to the room. So these are things which were never taken into account in this standard. And we still live by this standard. This standard is now called ISO 27002. And it was called BS 17799, and then BS, this one is BS 7799. It just changed names. There is nothing new in it. So this is, for me, this is fast, because when you look at the regulations, the legal regulations, they are slowly making their way through the 80s now. In terms of legal aspect of security, we are really in the Middle Ages. The real problem we have today is that we are like a monkey in a very famous experiment which was done one day. Roughly the experiment was, you have a room. On the room there is a table. On the table there is, somebody is doing yes, so you know it, don't listen to it. So in the room there were bananas. And you let the monkey in. So the monkey comes in, he goes out the room, he shows the bananas, he goes for the bananas, he reaches for the bananas. At the moment it almost touches the bananas, the scientists just take an ice water shower and shower the monkey. So the monkey immediately goes to a corner and shivers here. Another monkey goes in, he comes in, he sees the bananas, he's the friend, banana's friend, he goes for the bananas, he reaches the bananas, he almost touches the bananas. At the moment he touches the banana, the scientists shower it with ice water and shower the guy who is in the corner too. So they are now both in the corner. And they continue to do like this. So they let a dry monkey in. it's showered, both are showered, and after some monkeys, these ones realize that there is a problem with this thing, so when a new monkey comes in, they come to it, they grab it, and then they explain that this is not the right thing to do. So you keep on getting monkeys in, and at the same time, you start getting wet monkeys out. And what do we end with? We end with a case where you have a room with a banana, with dry monkeys in the corner. There is a dry monkey coming in. He goes for the banana, and the horde of dry monkeys grab it from the banana, stating, don't do it because we don't know. Something horrible is going to happen. We have no idea what. But this is, legends say that this is going to be the end of us, so don't do it! And I would like, after this presentation, for us to be a little bit less the monkeys. Try to reuse what can be reused and be very open to some other things. I would like you to actually challenge me after the presentation, because I'm limited in time. Challenge me, challenge yourself in terms of security to look for pragmatism. Somebody who's in security is, like we say in France, well, never mind, very low in terms of visions and so on. We go low, and then we go up when there are new technologies. The other problem we have is that we have some requirements, security requirements, and the security is requirement, we need our doors to be closed because for security reasons. So we do have a process. Please keep this door closed at all times. We have here technology, which helps us to close the door. And then we have implementation. And we have users, and we have administrators, and we have businesses, and we have managers, and we have the CEO who says, we have to take this product out. Do you realize? We have to take it out tomorrow. Do you understand? Yes, I do. So we put the string. Now I'm going to go through a few of the things which can help you in your life, and especially from a coding perspective. First of all, we have something which is called the Secure Coding Standards. When I show this slide, I expect everybody to say, obviously. Yes, there are 3 people who are saying, obviously. If you don't know OWASP, please go there and have a look at this page. This is a page where people were thinking about how to do things securely in coding. They have a set of recommendations, around, say, 140 recommendations, and out of these, they decided to take 10 of them. This is called the famous OWASP Top 20. The OWASP Top 20, it doesn't matter what is here. It's a way for you to use a KPI in security, key performance indicator in security. Means you take this and you say, standards, this is not a standard, by the way, standards say that we have to be compliant with this. You don't say we have to be secure, because we have to be secure is a very vague word. You say we have to be compliant with this. It's a way for you to push the security of a product, which at the end of the day, you are going to be responsible for. Because when you deploy a product, you are the one who is going to suffer because of the lack of security afterwards. Most suffer, because the lower it gets, the most suffering there is. So make sure to go to OWASP and have a look. For each of the vulnerabilities, there is a table, a very handy table. Can you read actually which is on the... just let me... Well, OK, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, I put some big fonts here. Here you have a set of explanation about how things are, how the vulnerabilities appear, and so on, and you have something which is called impact. And for instance, for XSS, which is a vulnerability, it doesn't matter what it is. For this vulnerability, if you have a penetration test, so you pay a company to come and say how bad your product is, self-flagelling, you know, these kind of things, and they come and they will see if they find an XSS, it's almost certain they are going to put an impact of moderate. And now you have to stop and think. Because in security, there are 2 kinds of vulnerabilities. There is the technical vulnerability, where your database, because of a fancy REST core, your database get erased because you didn't plan for it before. This is a security incident which is technical. You have to fix it in a way, and certainly the criticality is there. You have a second category of security incidents, which are the ones which deal with your image. If you have a website for your company, and on this website, and your company has anything to do with security or products that are supposed to be secured, and on this website, somebody finds an XSS and publishes it, what is going to be in the news the next day after is that company X website is highly vulnerable to terrible things because there is an XSS which is known to be the worst thing in the world. And you can do all the kind of belly dancing, as I called it afterwards, to say, no, there is no important data here. No, the XSS is actually not exploitable. It doesn't matter at all. An XSS has to be fixed when it's outside. And same goes for all the other vulnerabilities. Don't assume the fact that there is no exploit to be a reason not to fix something. Believe me, what can go in the press is very, very painful. You find vulnerabilities in your software, of course. More and more, you will find vulnerabilities in software which is not that obvious. A recent case of a dishwasher, which was done by a very good company, which does very good dishwashers. And what they do, their core business is good. They wash dishes, actually. And one day, they decided, because it's fancy today to be in the cloud and to have some reports and some dashboards, they decided to put a web service. And what they did, they took an intern to do that, because their engineers are concentrated on the dishes and how to wash them. So they put this, they shipped. It's not completely crazy to put a web service here, because these are industrial washers. So it would be good to ask them something, but now they end up with something like this, and they don't know how to fix it. Because one, the intern is gone, obviously, in terms of documentation. You know how it is when you develop software, especially when you develop software in a dishwasher company. And then they don't know what to do with this problem, because they don't know how to fix it, and then even if they knew how to fix it, they don't have anybody to go and actually upgrade this firmware. Another case, so this is industrial. Another case for consumers, there are toilets. For those of you who went to Japan, you know that the toilets are way more sophisticated than ours. Our toilet is just a hole with soil. In their case, there is plenty of electronics around that. And of course, a company, it was not exactly Satis, started a range of toilets which can be connected to internet. They can be connected to internet either wireless or wired. We have both. And why connected to internet? Because they had an app. And the app was really nice because it was dashboarding your toilet usage, separated in the kind of usages. You know, it's a very nice app, and they were super happy with it. As you can imagine, it was hacked. It was hacked very, very quickly, and the hacks were first. There were scripts, public scripts, by the way, on GitHub, where the toilet was playing drums, you know, raising up and down and playing some tunes, boom, 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 boom. And the other one was monitoring the pressure on the toilet, or the pressure when you sit. And when you were sitting, psh, there was the small water which was starting. So it was a nice hack, and it would have been like this, except that when they shipped these toilets, they also put in place medical sensors. They put sensors which checked your level of sugar in urine and these kind of things. And this was hacked too. And this data was publicly available before either you or your doctor knew it. So be very careful when having this kind of visions in a shower not too far from the traditional ones, because then you need to patch them. So the patching or fixing is easy for this kind of devices. We know we are all software engineers or something like this. We know them. It's a little bit less common to patch other devices. For you, when your TV says, "Do you want to update your firmware?" When you reply yes or no, this is an obvious reply. For your grandmother, when she reads it, it reads shh, yes, no. So unfortunately, very often this software is written by software engineers for software engineers. When you do something in security, be obvious. State, you have to press here and not here. Do you really want to press? Security is this. You cannot leave any kind of invention to the people. And like I mentioned, okay, never mind. So these are and then you have the third category of devices, which are not supposed to be patched, but they are. This is a Roomba, you know, the automatic vacuum cleaner, which starts in the night and starts to vacuum your house. Well, I discovered on mine there is a USB port, so I plugged into USB port, and ta-da! It says, "Do you want to upgrade my firmware?" I said yes, and now I think it works better, but I don't know. But this is something you would never find. Imagine there is a 0 day on that. Imagine it can start to bite you or something like this, and the poor company who designed this, they have no idea to come to you and say, "Please upgrade my firmware," because it's going to bite you, because somebody is going to attack you. This is one thing. The other thing you cannot see here is this is a very complicated device. This is the cat laser pointer I am mentioning in my bio, which is supposed in the night to start and to have the cat running behind the laser. I built it, I coded it, and I didn't expect it to be updated ever, and this is a mistake, because I should have thought better to make sure that there is a way to upgrade it. So, security-wise, you have gates. Everybody now has development gates. Concentrate on that one from a security perspective. When you start in security, the architecture is the right place to hop in and say, "I'm here," because the architecture is going to change things in terms of security for you. You want things to be separated. You don't want to put everything in a LAN. It's easier for the network guys. You know, I like everybody. I did everything from network to system administration, so I'm speaking on myself. But if there is a way for somebody to reduce the amount of work they have to do, they are always going to do it. So you are going to be faced here with some questions about where the data is going to be stored, how it's going to be stored, which protocols are going to be used. You have to be there. You have to be there to say, "No, please, we are not going to use this protocol which is completely open or completely broken or completely whatever just because somebody had an idea about using it." Then you have code review. It's complicated code review because if you don't know how to code securely, it's complicated to review somebody's code from that perspective. So I would recommend to have a look at automatic code, static code analyzers, and they are nice. You are going to have zillions of false positives. We use, for some of our products, which are huge, we use some of them. It took us a year and a half to be able to get interesting results from that. But now when we get it, they directly go into the bug reporting system. And then you have the penetration test, of course. And please, please, go for crystal box. Don't lose your time on some vaporous, hacker-blind kind of testing, black boxes, etc. Take the pen tester, tell them, "This is what we have, this is our front end, this is our back end, this is our middle, this is our, you name it, our databases, this is how we code it, and this is the code." Have them look at the security of your architecture and not try to guess what is behind. You're going to lose money, you're going to use time, and you are going to get hacked at the end. I mentioned the numbers at the very beginning, the numbers, the 79.37%, which is made up. The numbers I'm going to show you are not made up. I just want to show you an estimate of the order of magnitude of what you have to pay. It costs €1 to fix a bug here, when it costs about 10,000 euros to fix the bug over there re-architecturing the whole thing. And we end up with a lot of companies who unfortunately say it's going to be too expensive in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of release to fix this bug. Everybody has gone through it. Really invest on that part. Make sure that you, as developers, either you are interested in security and you say, okay, we need to put security, or you are going to bring in the security guy or gal who is going to do this for you. The second thing, out of all this OWASP thing, I just would like to highlight one, which is please do not trust user input. Because user input is bad, there are three kinds of user inputs. There is the hacker one, where you have people who are going to try to get into your system. There is the normal users who are going to try to understand your front end and try to put the right things in the right boxes. And then you have toddlers, small babies, who are going to do this, or cats, very good. All these kind of animals which are going to get to your keyboard, put something, and this something is going to make an XSS, I assure you. This either is going to break your program and break the word, or it's going to do a security thing. Never, never trust it. A small apartheid here is that my prophecy, please note this, in 2021, I think that XKCD is going to have a strip for everything. Every question asked in IT, IS, or in security is going to have a strip for it. So I'm going to be the first one saying it. In 2021, it's going to be Turing complete. End of the apartheid. So they have one for the user input. You know it. Everybody shows it. Please read it too. I mean, it's funny, but it's life. So make sure that you actually implement these kind of things. And it's important to separate two things. You have data which you get, and then you transform, and you do something with them, and data you are going to store to show them afterwards. The user input is especially important for the first case, because for the second case, when you read OWASP, you are going to see that this is not the right way to do it. So this is a homework afterwards. It's important you have some data which come in, and then you don't see them afterwards. You have the amount of euros you want to transfer from one account to another. You won't see this amount of euros afterwards. So you want to make sure that when they come into your system, you are sure that this is really tested. The other thing is that it's just one slide. You shall fail securely. Make sure that when you crash into something which makes sense from a security perspective. This is different from a crash, a performance, or something crash. If software crashes for personal reasons, it stops to work. Nobody is happy, but okay, it stops to work. It's not the end of the world. Unfortunately, when software crashes in a security context, it can make you do things on your systems which you didn't expect to be able to do. So make sure to always face security, to always think what is going to happen when this line fails from a security perspective, and this one, and this one, and this one, like you do for your, of course, like you do for your code normally, but also add the security part in it. There is some kind of fetishism in software development, which is to reinvent your encryption. I don't know if it's a matter of getting into adulthood or something. Everybody wants to reinvent encryption. Everybody, including us at some time. Somebody wanted to do the Dassault system encryption, the innovative encryption. Innovative encryption equals encryption which is easy to crack. This is more or less this. Never, ever reinvent encryption. I'm going to, is there anybody from Microsoft here? Good. Oh, can you leave, please? I love Microsoft. Especially Windows 10. I use it all the time. And unfortunately, I'm going to use this as one of the many examples of companies who systematically failed on security, certain security. In 1999, LAN Manager is invented. LAN Manager is invented, and in 1999, LAN Manager is cracked. So, because instead, some people were trying to say that maybe we'll use what we have. No, it had to be corporate. So in 1995, Word introduced own encryption. in 1995, this own encryption is cracked. The problem is, we are talking about the 90s. It's not that you can send an over-the-air update. Your CD or floppies are gone. People are installing them now. And you cannot just tell them, stop, or use this patch. No, it's too late. They are installing, they are sharing, and you hope that someday we are going to have internet which is going to be able to bring in a patch. So it's a disaster. It's a disaster because you brought publicly something you cannot get rid of. In 2000, Word, in the new version, enhances its encryption because it's so bad that there is shareware which is used to crack corporate documents. And in 2000, this enhanced encryption is cracked again. Woo! There are some changes in the encryption management team in Microsoft. And in 2013, Word starts, starting from version 2007, start to use standards. It's 2013. In 2017, they still use this standard, and it's fine. And it's great. And there are no problems with this. And they don't... There was some kind of attachment. When people bring in software to a security team, usually 5 to midnight, midnight being the release time, they bring it like a baby. And they say, is it beautiful? And you see that E.T. and you realize that you are going to, it's disgusting. But people are still attached to this. I have children, I'm attached to them, even they are not nice. Oh. So Word and Microsoft and others too, WinZip being the other one, they introduced working things, but still kept, the ability to use the other ones, just in case you would be attached to them. So make sure to use really, really strong standards. So life is great. Everybody is using AAS, the blowfish, the nice things, the good hashes. Everybody is happy. And then suddenly, you open Stack Overflow one day, and somebody wants new ideas, new ideas and testing for a new encryption are developed. What the fuck? There is everything already in place. Why this guy wants to implement something? And apparently, since he needs ideas, he has no idea what he's doing. And I've never seen any encryption-related thing which is unfixable with what you have today. So this is horrible. There are plenty of these guys who then, I found something which is really unbreakable, try it. And people don't even try it because they have other things to do. Don't do it. Please don't roll out your own crypto. If you have to do cryptography, data is easy. Try to use HTTPS and use TLS. And that's all, nothing else. One of the teams I've been working with said, okay, we are going to use TLS because you really want it, so apparently, okay, we are going to use, good, HTTPS, but we are going to encrypt the data anyway inside. Why? Why? It doesn't hurt me, at least. They're going to be hurt because it's going to break sometime. But why? You have this, use it. For data at rest, standard decryption. There is standard decryption. There are not that many. There are maybe 6 nice, good algorithms. They were tested by the NSA. They were tested by the Europeans. And both are using it, which means that they're probably safe. So for data at rest, use this. For password storage, please, that's another thing which people keep reinventing. Don't reinvent it. There are already solutions for this. The solution is simple. Use salt, which means, you look it up, paper, which is hidden salt, never mind, or both, and a slow hash. Because you want to store your password in a way which is slow. When you want the hacker to crack, it's going to be complicated because it's slow. You don't want to use the super duper fast hash, which is going to hash your password. You don't need it. When you log in, you are not at 3 milliseconds. You need to make sure that when they get your data, because they leaked from the architecture of the guy who didn't come to this presentation, he went on the other side there. So when they leak and you are happy that they leaked, you will know, never mind, I'm going to save the word. They can take it. It's unbreakable. And the password reset, another one. I just had a discussion recently. resetting password is just reset it. Don't try to resend it. Don't try to change it. Don't try to hint people about this. There is one thing which was invented, which is the security questions, which was probably invented by somebody who had a terrible, terrible childhood. Because this is the kind of questions where you ask, what is your favorite color? And people naturally, because we are good people, are going to answer. There are mostly men here, but for the sake of the women who are here, we see 4 colors. Probably the first one is blue. So just going for that, it's easy. They don't tell you in this security thing, put whatever. I had to use security questions in software from a company which starts with A, finishes with P, and looks like they have this, and they failed, by the way, last year. And there was a question with my friend from childhood. How is it called? It's Brune Klisfrid, like the name of the IKEA chair. They don't care. They don't care that it's... I was about to say it. They don't care. Put something over there and don't try to invent these monstrosities in your software. Especially if you work in a bank. If somebody is trained for a bank, banks love it. They love to ask you security questions. I don't know why. The other thing are the kind of discussions you have between, please meet John, and please meet Mary. John is a front-end developer. Mary is in charge of a system which provides data. And John decides one day to put, it's the end of the year, so they have to show what they did something during the year. So he decides to put a widget, and this widget is going to get some financial data to show them. And he asks Mary for an API. And Mary, she says yes. It looks like a normal conversation between 2 normal people. Please don't have it, because you should never, ever get data from custodians. Mary is a custodian. John is nothing. John is just a developer. Mary is a custodian. Does it sound something? It rings you a bell, any kind of bell? A custodian is somebody who technically manages the data. He makes sure that the data is there, it's available, it's nice, it's fresh, it's beautiful. The owner of the data is the one who decides, who says, this data can go here, and that data can go here. So never, a developer should never get data directly from a custodian. The owner decides. This is one of the most typical cases where terrible things happen, and then the CEO comes in and say, who the fuck allowed this data to be there? Finance says, not me. The developer says, probably us, but I don't know whom. And finally, they get to the guy who talked with Mary, John, who talked with Mary, and they both agree that it's going to be a good idea. This is not a good idea. Really not a good idea. Because data, you will see the artistic elements in my presentation, okay? It took me some time because I'm not a PowerPoint pro. But we have here administrator land and developer land, this beautiful country. There is a Polish expression. I'm going to try to remember it. It's kraina mlekiem I piwem płynąca. So this is the place. And we have here our user who decides to create some data on Excel file. And he is happy to be the only one who has access to this data over here. Unfortunately, this is not the case, because then he realizes that there are 5 more people who are administrators and who have access to this data. So he goes to them and says, please don't touch them, don't look at them, don't go there. Secret data, my data, don't go there. Unfortunately, this is rarely documented. There is rarely a document which somebody signs, because, you know, I'm a physicist by trade, and in physics, there are some particles which don't like to be in the same state. It's like people and decisions that don't like to be in the same room. So when you have to state in a written way that you are not going to look at it, it helps. So here. And then starts the journey of this data, which is then copied to a server, which is available for more people. You have the body count here. Then he goes to an ETL, and the ETL, there are programmers and administrators who use the ETL. We are 25. The poor guy has no idea about that. And worst, he signed off stating, me, I assure you that I'm the only one who is going to access to this data. And then when he had a chat with these people, plus 5 other people, but they know they shouldn't do it. So the poor guy has no idea that his data is making his way through the world of the information systems. It's stored on a BI system, and then poof, it goes into widgets, and then it's the end of the world. The people who see it over here have no idea about this guy has no idea about them, then comes a commission, then comes an audit, and then your company is closed. So be careful. Be careful with the data. Make sure to understand where your data is at every time. APIs and schemas. Just a few words about this. When you get data, try to reuse things which already exist. Don't reinvent your own rest. You cannot imagine the number of times people reinvent best practices. Either they don't know them or they don't like them. And particularly marshal incoming data. That is, check that the data which comes in, which is supposed to be a string of 6 characters in ANSI, is not a binary, for instance. Just check this. Enforce the marshalling of the data. There is now a new OWASP vulnerability, A10. There are 10. The problem with OWASP, you have 10 vulnerabilities, so you have to make space for new ones. So you get rid of old ones, or you squeeze them. And this one says under protected APIs. Everybody is checking whether in your bank system or whatever front end you cannot break in, you cannot get a CSOF or whatever. And everybody forgets, who don't like to think about the fact there are plenty of APIs which are very often quite open, because an API is basically a glorified website. The other thing which you will see very often is Yagni, which is, you're gonna need it. It's from extreme programming. I think you love extreme programming. Don't do it in security, please, because in security, you have to plan for the unseen. You are going to need to look for authentication, which today is your user authenticated, and tomorrow, suddenly, you know, in the movement of the data, this authentication disappears, because there is a dump server which talks with the dump server, and the developer said, okay, we are going to use one account, you know, the super account, which is going to make sure that the right data can be accessed and so on. Horrible things, but you know them. Authorization, so the data, you don't know who the data belongs to. Accountability, nobody logs until the moment they need to answer a question, and then we don't know. We have things we need to be aware of, is that sometimes something happening somewhere can impact your device over here, unknown in that case, because it's connected to internet, which is connected to a provider, which is connected to Amazon, which is connected to S3, and suddenly the chain breaks like this. So make sure that you know the whole history of where your data is going to be there. Make sure that people are going to reuse things from you. This lady, she is a journalist in The Guardian. She had a blog in The Guardian, and so there is a picture of her. Nice picture of her. She didn't realize that this picture will be available here, because this is the original picture she cropped from. The original was still there. So make sure that when you have some data, you understand what kind of data are buried within your data through metadata, for instance. And legal requirements. I would like to highlight very quickly this one. Please, legal is your friend in security. Normally, when you develop, you don't think about legal. You should, because you are going to be forced to do things which are related to legal, to legal aspects. To take some water. I'm drinking. I'm going to see if I see the same slide. Yeah, is that one? Aha! Ah, good, thank you! So 3 people here. found that there are two these. The. So, of course, you were trying to see, we are software engineers, about here a sequence and whether we have to use the plus or not. Because we are used to it. It's important to understand that you should not search problems where they are not. You look for, yes, okay, good, 2 minutes. You should not look for problems where they are not. And quickly, how to do this? Via a risk assessment. Risk assessment is simple. You do a 360 around all your problems, and you get up with this matrix, which obviously comes from the Moore's definition, which can define a series of curves that represent the same risk level, termed ISO, risk contours, which are somewhere a logarithm or something like that. This is from a book. How to do risk. I'm pretty sure that you won't read it, because it's completely unreadable. And then you are not going to have this matrix, because nobody knows how to build it. Risk is not done like this. How it's going to be done? It's in a second, but I have to quick. You will read something about risk. What can be done? You can do several things with risk, but I need to go faster to something more interesting, which is the ROI. The ROI, return on investment. Every euro you spend on security must absolutely be, no, I'm just kidding, it's impossible to do. If somebody asks you, why are we spending this money? You will never be able to say, because we are going to get more money because of this. This doesn't exist in security. Security is a black hole. You remove this black hole, terrible things happen. You leave this black hole, money goes in. And you never know if it goes in correctly or not. So it's impossible to take that one. So to finish this, there is a word in French which is called piphology. Piphology, which is a noun, is the science of measuring au pif, pif being the nose in English, in French, which means that we think roughly that the problem is here. When you do risk assessment, you say, basically, it's here. I think, more or less. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the real difference. The ability to use piphology is the real difference between the 001s and the ones who do belly dancing. This is the core. This is a mix of experience, of pragmatism, of math, of making sure that you are down to earth. You don't listen to consultants too much. Don't read too much books. Just think. And I would like to thank you. We are not done yet. I hope that you waste your time. If you say, the time I spent here is a wasted time, you are great. You are fine. You are fantastic. You live in a company where things work. At least this time is going to spend for you to say, good. Please be the ones who at a security presentation are going to say, I wasted my time because the guy over there is saying things which are obvious. Unfortunately, this is not always the case. And now, if you think that working in a company like Dassault Systèmes in security is something with a fantastic manager, is something which could be interesting, I am actually looking for somebody. I'm looking for somebody. I'm a terrible manager in the sense that I hate to manage people. So that person needs to be independent, curious, self-organizing, has to be a geek. Man or woman, we don't care. But honestly, we don't care. That person needs to know pen testing somehow. The black one are a must. The gray one is, if you know DevOps, scripting, hardening, it's good. It's important for this position. It's a position where on Monday, you are going to do pen testing. On Tuesday, you are going to discuss architecture with the business. On Wednesday, you are going to have a fraud case to investigate in forensics. On Thursday, you are going to do some governance because we need some awareness. On Friday, you are going to do some awareness. On Saturday, you are going home. On Sunday, you are going home. And on Monday, it changes completely. So it's this kind of job. If you need a job where everything is well organized, don't even try to think about that. It's great if you know governance, incident management, forensics. Ça serait fantastique, pardon, ça serait fantastique si vous étiez francophone. Donc si vous parlez français, c'est absolument parfait. Which means that if you speak French, it's better. But it's not, we are an international company. Ideally, it's going to speak French. And ideally, you love the southwestern part of Paris. So if you think you or somebody you know could fit in a very, very small team, which actually manages security. We are the ones who decide about the security, information security for everything in the system. Contact me. Thank you very, very much.